My hands were shaking so hard I could barely breathe because right in front of me, HOA, Karen had my daughter pinned to a bench and she was cutting her hair off in big, angry chunks. My little girl's screams echoed across the neighborhood, and Karen? She was smiling. What Karen didn't know, what she never expected, was that the man quietly watching from across the street wasn't just any passerby. He was the city security chief, and he saw everything. And the moment Karen lifted those scissors again, he stepped forward. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to ask you something. Comment your city name below. I love knowing where my community is watching from. And now, before starting the story, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss stories like this, stories that remind us how far a parent will go to protect their child. It all began on a quiet Saturday morning. Yanni wo din jab hum, usually apni porch par breakfast cardi hain, apni baby emakeo yard main kilt hue decked hue. She was 10 years old, gentle, shy, and had beautiful long chestnut hair she'd been growing for years. That hair was her pride, her confidence, her safe place. But in every neighborhood, there's always one person. One person Jisco Dusran Kikushi, Dusran Kizandagi, Yadusran Kubashon Esi Mas Lahoda Hai. Or Hamar Neighborhood, Main Wo Saida Ekishaks HOA Karen. She had issues with everything. Emma's chalk drawings, our wind chimes, even the small welcome sign near our door. But her obsession with Emma's hair was strange, disturbing even. She would stare, comment, mutter things like, "Children shouldn't have messy long hair." But we ignored her. Until the day, ignoring became impossible. Because what Karen did wasn't just rude. It wasn't just controlling. It was violence against a child. And standing across the street, arms folded, eyes locked on the scene, was the one person who had the power to expose everything. The city security chief, a man no one expected to be there that morning. What he saw changed everything. The morning had started so normally, it almost hurts to remember it now. Emma was sitting on the porch steps, brushing her long hair with the pink unicorn brush her grandmother had given her. She took her time, small strokes, careful movements, because she loved the way her hair caught morning sunlight. It made her feel pretty, safe, special. "Mama, braid it like you did last week?" she asked with her soft little smile. "Of course, sweetheart," I said, kneeling behind her. "Tight braid or loose braid?" "Loose braid," she whispered. "The one that looks like princess movies." I was halfway through gently braiding her hair when I felt the atmosphere shift the way the air suddenly stiffens before a storm. I didn't have to look up to know why. Karen was there, marching down the sidewalk with her clipboard, her sunglasses, her stiff walk, the kind that said, "I have nothing better to do except ruin everyone's day." Her mouth was already pursed, her hands already balled into fists, and her eyes, those cold, judgmental eyes, were locked on Emma's hair. Unbelievable, she muttered loud enough for us to hear. Absolutely unacceptable. I swallowed hard. "Good morning, Karen. Is it?" She stopped right in front of us. "Because from what I'm seeing, no, it isn't. Your daughter's hair length violates Section 4A of the Community Grooming Standards." I blinked. Community grooming standards? Karen, she's 10. Karen lifted her chin higher. Children in this neighborhood are expected to maintain a tidy appearance. Long hair causes lice, tangles, and visual disorder. And frankly, it makes her look. "Stop." My tone was calm but sharp. "Don't finish that sentence." She paused, taken aback by the firmness in my voice. She wasn't used to pushback, not from me, nor from anyone. Emma instinctively leaned closer to me, holding her braid. "Mom, did I do something wrong?" "No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong," I whispered, kissing her head. Karen scoffed. "Parents these days, no discipline, no standards, no respect for the HOA. This hair situation is becoming an eyesore." I forced myself to stay calm. Her hair is her choice, and as her parents, we decide what's right for her. "Well, not today," Karen snapped. "Today, I'm taking action." Before I even understood her words, she reached forward, fast, grabbing a thick lock of Emma's hair between her fingers. Emma froze. I froze. Let go of her. I hissed, standing up so fast my chair nearly fell over. But Karen didn't. She held the hair like it was trash she planned to throw out. This needs to be cut, she declared coldly. Immediately. And that's when I saw it, the glint of metal in her other hand. Scissors. Big, heavy, sharp scissors. I stepped between them instantly. Karen, are you out of your mind? You can't just... She shoved me aside. Shoved me. And before my body steadied itself, she had grabbed Emma's wrist with a force that made my daughter cry out, dragging her down the porch steps. Emma screamed, "Mom! MOM, help!" My heart split open. I ran toward them, but Karen used her weight to pin Emma down on the wooden bench near our garden, the same bench where Emma used to play with chalk and draw butterflies. Now, Karen was using it like a restraining table. "Stop touching my daughter." I shouted, voice cracking with panic. But Karen was in some delusional rage, breathing heavy, gripping the scissors so tight her knuckles turned white. "This won't take long," she barked. "I'm doing the neighborhood a favor." Emma thrashed, tears pouring down her cheeks. "Please don't. Please." "Hold still," Karen snapped. I lunged forward, but something stopped me. Not fear, not hesitation, not shock. A voice. Deep, authoritative, steady. "That's enough." I turned. Across the street stood a tall man, broad shoulders, black tactical jacket, badge clipped to his belt, radio on his shoulder. His stance was calm, almost frighteningly calm, like someone trained to de-escalate chaos. It took me a second to recognize him. City Security Chief Daniel Cole. He wasn't a regular cop. He wasn't HOA security. He wasn't neighborhood patrol. He was the man responsible for overseeing the entire city's public safety system, surveillance, response teams, emergency protocol. And he was staring at Karen with an expression that could slice steel. He crossed the street slowly, deliberately. I saw everything he said, voice low, each word landing like a hammer on concrete. Karen froze, scissors still raised midair. Everything he repeated, Karen swallowed hard. "Sir, this is a community violation situation. I'm enforcing." "No," he said firmly. "You assaulted a minor." "That's ridiculous." "You grabbed her. You restrained her. You cut a section of her hair. You ignored the parents' refusal." He pointed at the small pieces of Emma's hair scattered on the bench, the first chunks Karen had already hacked off when I was trying to stop her. Emma looked at the chief with trembling lips. She hurt me? Daniel's face tightened with fury, the kind that hides under professionalism, but burns hotter than fire. "Karen," he said quietly, "drop the scissors." She hesitated. "Drop them." For the first time, Karen looked scared, really scared. Her hand slowly loosened, the scissors clattering onto the bench. I rushed to Emma instantly, hugging her so tightly she sobbed into my chest. "You're okay, sweetheart. Mama's here. Mama's here." Karen stepped back, trying to regain control of the situation. "This is being blown out of proportion. You were just committing a criminal offense," the chief corrected sharply. "You laid hands on a child. You forcibly cut her hair against parental consent. That is battery. Do you understand what that means?" She sputtered. "Battery? Battery? That's ridiculous. I am the HOA president." Daniel leaned in slightly, his voice chillingly calm. "And I am the man in charge of citywide security, which means I can pull footage from every camera in this neighborhood." Karen's face turned sheet white. "You mean?" "Yes, every movement, every angle, every second." She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again, her confidence draining like water through a cracked cup. "I think we should, talk about this reasonably," she whispered. Daniel didn't flinch. "No, you crossed a line today, and I don't negotiate with people who hurt children." Karen's breath hitched, and that's when I realized something. The chief didn't just see the incident. He had been watching long before the scissors appeared. He had been waiting, observing, noticing patterns. Karen wasn't just in trouble. She was caught, And she knew it. Emma clung to me like she was holding on to life itself. Her tiny hands trembled against my shirt, her breathing shaky and uneven. I kept stroking her back, whispering, "You're safe now, sweetheart. I promise you're safe." But inside me, nothing felt safe. Nothing felt steady. My chest was burning with a mix of fear, rage, and the kind of helplessness only a parent can understand. Chief Daniel stood between us and Karen, forming a silent barrier. His presence alone felt like a wall, solid, unshakable, protective. But Karen, she wasn't done. Even with the scissors on the bench, even with evidence against her, even with the city security chief staring her down, she still tried to regain her power. "That child has been a problem," she snapped, adjusting her glasses with shaking hands. "Always running, always making noise, always drawing chalk on the sidewalks. I warned you several times." I stepped forward, anger finally boiling over. "She's a 10-year OLD, Karen. She plays, she draws, she laughs. That's what kids do. Nothing she ever did justifies what you did today." Karen flinched as if the truth physically slapped her. Daniel kept his voice controlled. "You need to step away from this house. Now." Karen narrowed her eyes at him. "You have no authority to tell me." "I have every authority," he replied calmly. "As chief of city security, I am responsible for the safety of every citizen, especially children." He slowly unclipped a small device from his belt. A scanner? A badge reader? I wasn't sure. But Karen's face drained of all color when she saw it. You're not serious," she whispered. "Oh, I'm very serious," Daniel said. I held Emma tighter as we stepped back onto the porch. My daughter looked up at me with red, tear-filled eyes. "Mom, why did she want to cut my hair? Did I do something wrong?" That question broke me. Tears filled my eyes instantly. "No, baby," I whispered, cupping her cheeks. "You did nothing wrong. She's the one who's wrong. You're perfect. Your hair is perfect. Everything about you is perfect." Emma nodded slowly, though her eyes still showed fear and confusion. Trauma doesn't disappear just because the danger does. When I looked back, Karen was pacing nervously, muttering under her breath. The calm, arrogant superiority she always carried was gone. Now she looked hunted. "Let's be rational," she tried again. "Chief Cole, I respect your position, but this is an HOA matter." Daniel interrupted her softly, which somehow made it scarier. "No, Karen. This stopped being an HOA matter the moment you assaulted a minor." He tapped the device in his hand. "Do you know how many cameras are in this neighborhood?" Karen shook her head slowly. 26, he said, "and I have access to every one of them." I felt a chill run down my spine. 26? Our neighborhood looked peaceful, but suddenly I realized city security was watching more than I ever imagined. He continued, "Your actions today were recorded from 4 separate angles." He pointed behind her. "That lamp post. Across the street. That mailbox camera." And then, shockingly, he pointed at her own house. "And your front door's security camera." Karen's jaw dropped. My camera? How would you?" "You have it connected to the city grid," he explained casually, "which means it backs up to our system automatically." She looked like she might faint. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or frightened. The fact that someone was watching felt invasive, but right now it was our salvation. Karen crossed her arms, trying to appear composed. Fine. Maybe things got a little heated, but I was trying to enforce rules. That's my job. Parents these days don't care about cleanliness or appearance. Cutting a child's hair without consent, Daniel said firmly, is not enforcing rules. It is abuse. Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. A few neighbors had started to gather at a distance, drawn by the shouting. Phones were out. Eyes were wide. Some whispered things like, "Did she really cut the girl's hair?" I knew Karen was controlling, but this? She's finished. Completely finished. The humiliation, the panic, the fear, it all hit Karen at once. She looked around desperately, like a caged animal trying to find a way to escape. Finally, she snapped. "You're all dramatic," she yelled. pointing at the small crowd. You don't know what really happened. She's exaggerating. I barely touched the girl. Daniel's jaw tightened. Karen, look at the bench. We all turned. There, lying on the slats of wood like a small fallen bird, were the pieces of Emma's hair Karen had cut. Not one strand, several locks. Thick, long, and uneven. Evidence so undeniable it felt like the air itself stopped moving. Karen stared at the hair. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Her face contorted. She looked almost scared. This isn't what it looks like, she whispered weakly. It's exactly what it looks like, Daniel replied. Silence filled the street. Karen whispered, So, what happens now? Daniel didn't answer immediately. He took a slow breath, glanced at Emma, then at me, then back at Karen. You're coming with me, he finally said. Karen staggered back. What? Arrest? You're arresting me? I said you're coming with me, he repeated calmly. You will give an official statement, and the city will determine charges. Charges, she gasped. Against me? Yes, he said simply. Against you. Karen turned to me suddenly, as if expecting sympathy. This is your fault, she screeched. You always let her run wild. You let her hair get messy. You let her. I raised my hand. Stop. My voice cracked from the weight of everything I'd held in for months. You terrorized my daughter. You humiliated her. You hurt her. You made her scared to walk outside. And now you want to blame us? No, Karen. Not anymore. Today, you answer for what you did. Karen opened her mouth again, but Daniel stepped closer, placing a hand gently but firmly on her shoulder. Let's go. She jerked away. Don't touch me. Karen, he warned sharply. Her shoulders slumped. She lowered her head. And for the first time since I had known her, she surrendered. Daniel guided her toward his SUV parked across the street. Before he opened the door, he turned to me. I'll handle everything, he said quietly. Your daughter is safe now. I promise. Emma looked up at him from my arms. Thank you, sir. He gave her the softest smile, one that didn't match his stern exterior. You're welcome, kiddo. Karen climbed into the SUV, her face pale and defeated. As Daniel shut the door, I felt Emma's small hand grab mine. Mom, she whispered, is she going to jail? I hesitated, then answered honestly. She's going to face consequences, sweetheart. And she should. What she did wasn't okay. Emma nodded slowly. I'm scared. I hugged her tight. I know, but we're going to get through this. Together. The SUV pulled away. The street finally grew quiet. But deep down I knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The neighborhood slowly emptied out after Daniel's SUV disappeared around the corner. The whispers faded. The phones went down. The curious faces retreated behind their doors. But the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, unsettling, the kind that warns you a storm isn't over, it's just regrouping. I carried Emma inside, her small hand still trembling in mine. The cut pieces of her hair were stuck to her cheeks, her shirt, even her eyelashes. I gently brushed them away, feeling my chest tighten with every stray strand that reminded me of what happened. Sweetheart, I whispered, guiding her to sit on the couch. I'm going to bring you some water. Take a deep breath, okay? She nodded quietly, but her eyes were distant, the kind of stare trauma leaves behind. When I got back with the water, I knelt in front of her. Do you want to talk about it? Her lower lip quivered. She grabbed me so fast. I thought she was going to hurt me more. My heart broke all over again. I placed a hand gently over hers. She won't come near you again. I won't let her. The chief won't let her. You're safe. Emma whispered. She kept saying my hair was ugly. Mom, is my hair ugly now? No, baby. I cupped her face. Your hair is beautiful with or without those little pieces she took. And you are beautiful. What she said was wrong. All of it. Don't ever believe a word she said. She leaned into me, finally letting herself cry. Big, heartbreaking sobs that shook her whole body. I held her until she tired herself out and fell asleep on my chest. But as I sat there, stroking her hair gently, I couldn't stop thinking about something. Chief Daniel. The way he appeared exactly when the situation exploded. The way he said, "I saw everything." The way he mentioned cameras, not in surprise, but like a man who had been watching the neighborhood for a while. Why? Why was the city security chief here today? Why this street? Why this house? And why did he look at Emma with something more than a stranger's concern? My thoughts were interrupted by a knock. A firm, decisive knock. My heart jumped. I put Emma's head against a pillow gently, covered her with a blanket, and walked to the door quietly. When I opened it, he was standing there. Chief Daniel. Still in his tactical jacket. Still calm. Still unreadable. "Ma'am," he greeted softly. "Chief," I said, stepping outside and closing the door halfway behind me so Emma wouldn't hear. He nodded toward the living room window. "How's she doing?" "She's shaken, but she's resting now." His jaw tightened. "I'm sorry your daughter had to experience something like that. No child should go through that." His sincerity felt real, too real, for someone who didn't know us. I crossed my arms slightly. "Why were you here today? On this street?" He exhaled, expression shifting, like he had been waiting for that question. "I wasn't here because of Karen," he said quietly. "I was here because of your daughter." The street suddenly felt colder. "What?" I breathed. He lifted a hand, gently. "Let me explain. I don't mean that in a dangerous way. Nothing harmful. I was monitoring the area because of a report we received." "What kind of report?" 2 weeks ago, he said, a neighbor anonymously reported that a minor was being targeted by an HOA official. They said this official had become fixated on the child, taking photos, making comments, following her around the neighborhood. My stomach dropped. Photos? Following her? No. That couldn't. Who reported it? I whispered. "We don't reveal identities," he said, but the report was detailed. Extremely detailed. And after reviewing it, I assigned myself to the case. "You? Why, personally?" His eyes softened, not romantically, not pity, but protectively. "Because cases involving children are my highest priority. And because the details sounded concerning." I swallowed hard. "You were watching our street for 2 weeks?" "Yes," he nodded. "I reviewed the camera grid. I monitored patterns. I saw Karen watching your daughter more than once. Too closely. Too long." My blood turned to ice. "She was waiting for a moment when you weren't looking," he continued. "And today she found one." I felt dizzy. "Why didn't you stop it sooner?" He looked down, regret flashing across his face. "Legally, I needed evidence of physical threat or contact. Words and glares weren't enough. But the moment she grabbed Emma, that crossed the line." I leaned against the doorframe, letting the reality sink in. All this time, Karen wasn't just rude. She was obsessed, fixated, dangerous. And someone in the neighborhood saw it first. "Is Karen going to jail?" I asked quietly. "That depends," he said, "on the statement you give and the footage. But a child battery charge plus unlawful restraint, yes, she most likely will." For the first time that day, a small flicker of justice glowed inside me. But then Daniel continued, and what he said next made my heart freeze in place. "There's something else," he said gently. "Something you need to know." My breath stopped. "What?" He looked around the quiet street, then stepped closer, so no one else could hear. Karen wasn't acting alone. My whole body stiffened. "What do you mean?" "There's someone else in the HOA," he whispered. "Someone higher, someone who encouraged her behavior. Someone who told her that your daughter's appearance was against aesthetic rules. Someone who told her that if she didn't enforce it, she would lose her HOA position." My chest tightened painfully. "That makes no sense. Why target Emma's hair?" Daniel hesitated. And that hesitation scared me more than anything, because, he finally said, "This isn't actually about her hair." "What is it about then?" He met my eyes with a mixture of caution and seriousness. "It's about your house," he revealed, "and a conflict inside the HOA leadership. Your daughter is just a pawn in something bigger." My blood ran cold. Someone was using my child to pressure us? Before I could speak, Daniel added, "And I need your help to expose them." For a moment, all I could hear was the wind rustling through our maple tree, that soft, steady sound that normally calmed me. But right now, it felt ominous, like nature itself was holding its breath. My help, I repeated, trying to process Daniel's words. Chief, my daughter was attacked today. We're terrified, and you're saying someone else is involved. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, Karen was just the hand. Someone else was the brain. My stomach twisted. Who? He shifted, lowering his voice as if the street itself had ears. I can't give you the name yet, not until we confirm more evidence. But I've been digging into the HOA for the last week, and what I found is alarming. I crossed my arms tightly. Alarming how? Daniel's gaze darkened. Your HOA isn't just enforcing rules, they're manipulating them. I stared at him. What do you mean? He stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper now. There's a pattern of targeting certain houses, especially ones they want control over. And your house? He paused. Your house is one of them. A chill shot through me. Why our house? I whispered. That's what I need your help figuring out, Daniel said. But I know this. Your daughter's hair was not the real issue. The HOA leadership needed leverage over your family. Karen was told that messy appearance violations would justify forcing a compliance hearing. I blinked, confused. A compliance hearing? For hair. Yes, he said. Once you're in violation, they can issue fines, then bigger fines, then property sanctions. Eventually, they can pressure homeowners into what they call administrative restructuring agreements. It's a tactic. A tactic for what? I asked. He looked at me with an expression so serious it made the hairs on my neck stand. To push people out, he said, quietly, legally, without anyone noticing. My mouth fell open. Push us out? Why? We pay our dues. We've never caused trouble. We've lived here for 5 years. Daniel sighed softly. HOAs don't go after troublemakers, they go after what they want. Properties, land, influence. So someone wants our house, I whispered, feeling sick. Yes, he confirmed. And they used your daughter as leverage to break you emotionally, to make you compliant. A wave of nausea rolled through me. Emma. They used Emma, a 10-year-old child, for property. A burst of anger rose in me, so fiercely I felt my eyes sting. Whoever did this, whoever thought they could hurt my daughter to get to me, I swear they're going to regret it. Daniel almost smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was one of recognition. Good. I need that fire, because what comes next won't be easy. I took a breath, steadying myself. What do you need from me? He reached into his jacket and handed me a small card, matte black with a silver emblem. This is a temporary city observer access card. It allows you to view the public camera footage from the streets around your home. Not private homes, only city-monitored areas. My eyes widened. Why give this to me? Because Karen's footage will back up your case, he said, but I think there's more. Others were watching. Others were involved. He crossed his arms. And I want you to see it for yourself. I swallowed hard. When? Tonight, he said, after Emma wakes up, after things calm down. I'll come back and guide you. I hesitated, a mother's instinct at war with fear. Is it safe? He nodded. I wouldn't involve you if it wasn't. And I'm not leaving your street until this case is closed. His words eased something inside me. For the first time since morning, I felt seen, protected, not alone. And the person behind Karen? I asked. His expression sharpened. I'll expose them, but not without your statement. Your voice is critical. A wave of responsibility washed over me. Painful, heavy, necessary. Fine, I said softly. I'll help. Before Daniel could respond, a quiet rustling behind the door caught my attention. I turned to see Emma standing there, blanket around her shoulders, face pale, but awake. Mom, I heard talking, she whispered. Is she gone? I knelt and opened my arms. Emma ran into them instantly, holding me tight. I lifted her slightly, feeling her heartbeat against mine, fast, uneven, scared. She's gone, sweetheart, I whispered, kissing her forehead. She's with the chief now. You're safe. Emma looked at Daniel timidly. You're the one who helped me? He crouched gently, lowering himself to her level. Yes, he said softly. I saw what she did, and I'm going to make sure she can't ever hurt you again. Emma nodded slowly, her eyes filling again. Thank you. Daniel's voice softened even more. It's my job to keep kids safe. And I promise I'll keep you safe, too. For a moment, Emma studied him, really studied him, and then she whispered something that made my throat tighten. Can you stay outside our house? She asked. Just today? I don't want her to come back. Daniel's expression softened in a way I didn't expect, protective, almost fatherly. I'll stay, he said. I'll be right outside. You won't have to be afraid. Emma rested her head on my shoulder, the blanket slipping as she whispered, Okay. Daniel rose and stepped back. I'll be parked across the street. If you need anything, even if it's small, come get me or call me on the number on that card. I nodded. Thank you for everything. He gave a short, respectful nod. I'll be around. As he walked across the street, Emma whispered, Mom, is everything going to be okay now? I forced a smile and kissed her hair. Yes, baby, it will. But when I looked out the window and saw Daniel sitting in his SUV, alert, watching, waiting, a cold realization hit me. Whatever was coming next, whatever the HOA was hiding, whatever person had used Karen as a weapon, we were standing at the edge of something bigger, darker, more dangerous than I imagined. And tonight, when we reviewed the footage, the truth would finally start to unravel. Evening settled over the neighborhood like a heavy curtain. The warm daylight that once filled our home had slipped away, leaving long shadows stretching across the living room floor. I had put on a soft lamp in the corner. Anything brighter felt too harsh for the day we'd just survived. Emma was curled beside me on the couch, wrapped in her blanket like a little cocoon. The TV played quietly in the background, a cartoon she usually loved, but she wasn't watching. Her eyes were distant again, fixed on the window, as if expecting Karen to burst through it. I kept my arm around her shoulders, rubbing slow circles on her back. You're safe, I whispered again for the 20th time. She nodded weakly, but fear doesn't vanish that easily. A soft vibration buzzed against the coffee table. My phone. A message flashed. Chief Daniel, I'm outside. Ready when you are. My heartbeat picked up. This was it. Time to see the footage. Time to find out who the real mastermind was. I kissed Emma's forehead gently. Sweetheart, I need you to rest for a little while. I'm stepping outside with the chief to look at something important, okay? Her hand tightened around mine instantly. Don't go alone. I knelt in front of her. You'll be able to see me through the window the whole time. I won't leave the porch. I promise. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. I grabbed a sweater, slipped on my shoes, and stepped outside into the cool night air. The entire neighborhood was quiet, too quiet, as though everyone was hiding inside, afraid of what had happened earlier. Daniel was already approaching from his SUV, tablet in hand, his face serious. You ready? He asked softly. I took a breath. Yes. He nodded and gestured toward the porch bench. Let's sit. I sat down, and he pulled up a secured feed on his tablet. I expected grainy footage, maybe a shaky view of the sidewalk. But what I saw was cinematic clarity, high-resolution, multi-angle coverage of my entire street. This is a lot, I whispered. He nodded. City infrastructure uses advanced lenses. Nothing misses. He tapped the screen. Clip number 1, 8:03 a.m., street camera west angle. The footage showed Karen walking down the sidewalk, her posture stiff, her face set in a determined scowl. But what chilled me wasn't her. It was the person walking several steps behind her. A tall man, hands in his pockets, sunglasses, slow, calculated pace. He wasn't with her, but he might as well have been. Who is that? I whispered. Daniel paused the video. We've seen him before. My stomach tightened. Where? He zoomed in slowly. Watch. He tapped another window. Clip number 12, 3 days ago, 3:27 p.m. Emma was drawing chalk flowers on the sidewalk. Karen was across the street with her phone, taking pictures of her. And that same man? He was standing behind Karen then, too. Silent. Watching. Shifting slightly to keep Emma in his line of sight. My throat constricted. He was monitoring Karen, Daniel said, and watching your daughter. Why? I whispered. We're getting there. He opened another clip. Clip number 18. 1 week ago, HOA meeting night. The footage was from the community hall entrance. Karen was talking to someone in a dark suit, not arguing, not debating, whispering, almost reporting. The tall man, the same one. Daniel slowed the clip. The man placed a hand on Karen's arm, firm, controlling. She stiffened. He leaned in close and said something that made Karen nod immediately, like a soldier receiving orders. My skin crawled. Chief, I breathed. Is he the one in charge? Daniel didn't answer yet. Instead, he opened the final clip. Clip number 26, today 9:21 a.m. The moment before everything exploded. Karen was standing across the street from my house, staring at Emma brushing her hair on the porch. But she wasn't alone. The tall man stood just behind her, partially hidden by a tree, watching, observing, analyzing. Karen looked terrified of him. He said something. She shook her head. He stepped closer. She flinched. He said something again. This time she nodded. Then he pointed at Emma. My breath hitched sharply. He told her to do it. I whispered. He told her to cut my daughter's hair. Daniel exhaled heavily. Yes. The rage that surged inside me was volcanic. Who is he? Daniel tapped the screen one last time and pulled up a city security profile. My heart dropped. A name, a face, a title. Everything clicked together in a horrifying instant. Victor Hale, HOA Regional Compliance Director. Oversees 14 communities. History of forced homeowner removals. Currently under federal review. I stared at the screen, feeling my pulse in my throat. He's not just part of the HOA, he runs them. Not officially, Daniel said. Officially, he's just a regional compliance officer. But unofficially, he controls everything. Why target my daughter? I asked, voice trembling with fury and disbelief. Daniel turned to me with a heavy seriousness. Because your house sits on a lot the HOA wants. They want it for new zoning plans. They needed you gone. And Hale uses psychological pressure, especially involving children, to push families into selling or breaking. My vision blurred with anger. He used Karen as a pawn. Daniel nodded slowly. She's terrified of him. He manipulates desperate board members, threatens to remove them, and then uses them to do his dirty work. So, this wasn't just Karen's madness, I whispered. This was a coordinated attack. Daniel didn't sugarcoat it. Yes, and it won't stop now that Karen's in custody. Victor Hale doesn't like loose ends. A cold shiver ran down my spine. What do we do now? I asked quietly. Daniel met my eyes firmly. We expose him, he said. Tonight, before he tries something else. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. Chief, he targeted my child. What if he tries to hurt her? Daniel's expression hardened into something fierce, protective, unwavering. He won't touch her, he said, because he'll have to get through me first. His words were so sure, so steady, it made something inside me unclench. For the first time today, I believed him. But then he added something that made my blood run cold all over again. We're not the only ones watching this footage tonight. I froze. What do you mean? Daniel looked toward the dark street, eyes narrowing. Hale knows Karen got caught, and he knows I'm involved. A pause. He will come tonight. Not to talk. Not to apologize. His jaw tightened. To cover his tracks. My chest tightened painfully. You mean? Yes, Daniel said, quietly. He's coming here. Night deepened around our home, turning every shadow into something sharper, darker, dangerous. The street, usually so familiar, felt like a stage waiting for an actor we hoped would never arrive. But he would, because predators always returned to cover their tracks. Daniel stood at the edge of my porch, facing the street like a soldier guarding a border. His stance was rigid, eyes scanning every corner, every dark patch of asphalt. I hovered behind him, clutching the railing, because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Inside, Emma slept fitfully on the couch, a soft lamp glowing beside her. I checked on her every few minutes, each time feeling a new wave of rage crash through me. A grown man, someone with authority, had weaponized an HOA and used a child as leverage. No, not anymore. He's coming from that direction. Daniel pointed down the street toward the cul-de-sac where the sidewalk lights flickered faintly. I swallowed hard. How'd he know? Hale always circles the block once. He studies. He probes. He never rushes a confrontation. As if summoned by the chief's words, the sound of an engine hummed low in the distance, a slow, deliberate purr. Not a neighbor's car. Not a delivery truck. Something darker. Daniel straightened even more. That's him. A black SUV turned onto our street, its headlights dimmed lower than legal. It rolled forward like a predator stalking prey, slow enough to be unsettling, controlled enough to be intentional. My heart pounded violently. The SUV stopped directly across from my house. The engine shut off. And then, the driver's door opened. My breath hitched as Victor Hale stepped out. Tall, sharply dressed in a charcoal suit, his silhouette crisp against the streetlight. He closed the door gently, too gently, like someone who didn't want to disturb the night before tearing it apart. He adjusted his cufflinks. Then he looked at us. A smile, cold, knowing, chilling, tugged at the corners of his mouth. He walked forward with that slow, confident arrogance of a man used to being feared. A man who saw neighborhoods as pawns, families as obstacles, children as leverage. Daniel moved to the base of the steps. That's far enough, Hale. Victor stopped a few feet away, hands behind his back. Chief Cole, he said smoothly, as if greeting an old friend at a cocktail party. I hear you've been busy today. Daniel didn't flinch. I could say the same. Victor tilted his head, eyes flicking toward me. Your daughter is inside, isn't she? How's she coping? My blood turned to fire. Don't talk about her. But Victor just smiled wider. You know, I warned Karen she wasn't competent enough for hands-on work. Emotional people always get sloppy. The bile in my throat rose. You ordered her to hurt my daughter, I said through clenched teeth. Victor's eyes gleamed. Oh, don't be dramatic. Hair grows back. Daniel took one step forward. Battery on a minor. Unlawful restraint. Abuse of authority. Witness intimidation. And conspiracy to remove homeowners through manipulation. You're done, Hale. Victor chuckled. Done? No, Chief. I run this region. I can bury charges you haven't even thought of yet. Daniel's voice deepened. Not tonight. Victor's smile faded. What makes you think you're in control here? Daniel lifted the tablet from earlier and tapped the side. A projection light flashed against the porch wall. Karen pinned Emma down. Victor standing behind the tree, giving orders. Karen cutting Emma's hair. Emma screaming. Victor watching. The footage played like a horror reel. Victor's jaw tightened just a little. You're bluffing. City cameras are encrypted. You don't have access to private feeds. Daniel stepped aside, revealing the small silver emblem on his jacket. Head of Internal Investigations. And this neighborhood was flagged for suspicion 3 months ago. Victor's confidence faltered visibly. Daniel continued. I've been building a case against you for weeks. Financial irregularities, property coercion, multiple families forced out, fake fines, unauthorized surveillance. And now, you assaulted a child through your proxy. That's the nail in your coffin. Victor exhaled sharply. You overestimate your power, Daniel. Daniel didn't blink. And you underestimate mine. Silence. A dangerous electric silence. Then Victor stepped closer, too close. Let's be real, Chief. You don't care about this family. You're here because you need the win. A trophy case. A headline. Daniel's eyes darkened with a fury I hadn't seen before. You're wrong. Then he said the words that made my breath stop completely. I'm here because S.H.E. He pointed at my daughter through the window, reminded me of my own niece. The one I couldn't save, and I'll be damned if I let another little girl suffer under a man like you. Victor froze. Daniel's voice dropped razor sharp. You don't get to hurt children. Not in my city? Hale suddenly lunged forward. A wrong move. Daniel reacted instantly. In a single motion, he twisted Victor's arm behind his back, slammed him against the porch post, and snapped cuffs around his wrists. Victor shouted, "This is illegal. I control this region. You can't." "You controlled nothing," Daniel growled, pushing him down the steps. "You hurt a child. You targeted a family. And tonight, you answer for everything." As Daniel guided Victor to the SUV, neighbors began stepping out quietly. Phones lifted. Cameras recorded. Whispers filled the street. Is that Victor Hale? He finally got caught? That family didn't deserve any of this. Good. He needs to pay. Justice wasn't quiet anymore. It was loud, visible, unstoppable. Victor turned toward me once before being placed in the vehicle, his eyes full of rage, not remorse. "This isn't over," he hissed. Daniel shut the door hard. "It is," he said. "For you." The SUV pulled away. The street exhaled. And for the first time since the nightmare began, I felt safe. If you've been watching this story, if you felt the fear, the anger, the injustice, if you believe no child should ever be used as leverage, punishment, or pressure, then comment below. What would you do if someone hurt your child? Your voice matters. Your city matters. Your opinion matters. And if you found strength, hope, or courage in this story, subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss another story where justice wins, where families fight back, and where the truth always comes to light. Because today, Emma got justice, and tomorrow, so will someone else.